Now, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise, great to have you back with us. I want to start with this. It seems that this border control problem is one that's gone on for decades. And no matter which party is in control, the White House, the House, the Senate, nothing concrete or long-term seems to get done. Anything lasting. It's something that's used to bludgeon each other, the various parties, depending on who's in control. So, Congressman, what do we do? How do we solve this problem?
Well, and you could see what President Trump had done to get control of the border, because when he came in, we were having a similar border crisis. The Remain in Mexico policy was something that was very effective. President Trump negotiated an agreement with the president of Mexico. A lot of people thought he couldn't do that because they were having a lot of friction. You saw it play out in the press. But yet President Trump was able to get that agreement, and it stopped a lot of the flow. The Northern Triangle agreements with countries in Central America were very helpful also. And then, of course, building the wall was helping stop the flow because you were allowing Border Patrol agents to do what they want to do. I was down in McAllen, Texas, not long ago along one of the worst areas of border crossings illegally. And what the Border Patrol agents there tell you is, when you had all those tools in place, they were able to focus their time on stopping the drug dealers, the drug cartels from Mexico that right now, unfortunately, have complete control of America's southern border. They were apprehending them. They were stopping the fentanyl and other dangerous drugs. They were stopping the human trafficking where so many sexual assaults are occurring. They're not able to do that right now because of what President Biden's done. So, yes, I'd like to see real reform to get back to a functioning legal immigration system. President Trump wanted to do that, too. Nancy Pelosi never wanted to get an agreement. Democrats have had a horrible record on this. When they had complete control under President Obama, House, Senate, and White House, they never tried to fix immigration. Today, they're not trying to. They're trying to open our borders, send that message out to the world. It's not just South and Central America. As you know, you've got people from Middle Eastern countries on the terrorist watch list coming across our southern border. That's how bad it is. Biden created this mess. Kamala Harris has been right there as the border czar. She's helping enable this crisis. And he could stop it today by going back to the things President Trump put in place that worked.
Well, one of the things that President Trump put in place that Governor Abbott is going to try to resurrect, Congressman, is completing construction of the wall, at least in the state of Texas. We'll see how far he gets in his ability to do that. Another big issue, of course, other than immigration, that will likely be a major issue for the 2022 midterm elections is the crime wave spiking across the country. You've got a lot of Democrats right now who are running away from this idea of defunding the police. President Biden even came out in recent days and said, hey, there's money in the American Rescue Plan to fund new police officers on the streets. And yet Democrats in Congress are not coming forward with any legislation. What's going on there on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, it's very clear Democrats embraced this crazy radical idea of defunding the police last summer. It had been building for years in fringe elements of the Democrat Party, but they wholly embraced it. You saw everybody from Speaker Pelosi to some of her top lieutenants publicly coming out, calling police racist, calling for defunding police, calling for dismantling the ability to police to do their jobs. And it had a devastating effect. We saw retirements at all-time highs, and now we're seeing the other bad side of that, and that is crime out of control in many of these cities that defunded police, and they're all Democrat-run cities. The Democrat Party could resolve this today by saying they were wrong, just admit they were wrong, and go back to their local mayors that did this and the city councils and say, refund the police at the local levels, build your police force back up. To come to the federal government and say, hey, come mop up the mess that we created is not the answer. It's going and fixing the problems that they created in those cities that all of these Washington Democrats enabled, supported, and cheered on until the public revolted against it. Now they're trying to wash their hands of the dumpster fire they created.
Yeah, and Congressman, to your point, there are cities that are starting to say, whoa, 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 maybe we made a mistake last year. Many of them now going back to their city councils, their local budgets, and saying, let's put some of that money back. They're asking for that. And a number of big cities, people coming forward and saying, we want more police officers in our neighborhoods. I mean, we're hearing from the people, and our Fox News polling shows that the vast majority of Americans have confidence in their police departments and want to fund them properly. But to your point about this, about what Democrats are doing, that these are Democrat-held cities, I want to read something from the AP and give you a chance to respond. They say the effort to blame Democrats for crime may offer a preview of Republican strategy for upcoming elections, but they say the argument ignores the complicated reasons for fluctuations in crime rates, a list that today includes the upheaval wrought by the coronavirus pandemic and protests that erupted after the killing of George Floyd by police. How do you respond?
Well, if you look at most cities today, look, Chicago just this last weekend had almost 80 shootings. and their mayor defunded police. Are they really not going to connect those dots and try to think people don't know what's going on? People in those most affected communities are the ones that are the most livid, saying, hey, this idea was a complete and utter failure. Stop defunding the police. Instead, they want to try to push blame to other people. Everybody knows what happened. Everybody knows what they did. Now they just want to try to avoid the blame because they never want to admit that they were wrong. They want to blame other people. But defunding the police backfired. It was a stupid idea. They did it anyway. And now we're seeing the results with high crime in so many of these cities. And incidentally, you see a lot of these in these local cities. The local prosecutors are not prosecuting a lot of these criminals. They're not prosecuting a lot of criminals who are using guns in their crimes, yet they want to ban guns from law-abiding citizens. So their next step is going to be gun control, not against the criminals who are committing crimes, but against us, those of us who are law-abiding citizens. We've got to push back against that, too. But that's the next step.
You know, it does appear, Congressman, that some Democrats at least want to refund on this defund the police idea. Illinois Congresswoman Sherry Bustos said defund the police is a phrase that I wish had never been uttered. We've got to do a better job of talking about what we want to do. Michael Dukakis, who lost the '88 election because he was perceived as being soft on crime, said of defund the police, he said it's nuts, telling The Hill, quote, I'm saying to myself, my God, what the hell is going on here? But at the same time, the National Association for Police Organizations, which did support President Obama and Biden in 08 and 12, but endorsed President Trump in 2020, is giving many Democrats higher marks on its issues than it gives to Republicans, including yourself. You got a 50% rating from NAPO. What's that about?
Well, ultimately, groups like that are more concerned with just getting more money from the federal government. But as we all know, local police are funded at the local level. It was locals who defunded police. And so if they want no accountability, you're not going to find absolvement of accountability from people like me. So I will support good police every single day. And I have stood up for police when you've seen others out there criticizing them. So I'm sure some of the people on their A list are people who embrace the defund police movement. That tells you a lot about their scorecard.
In fact, that is the case. There's no question about that. Congressman Steve Scalise from the great state of Louisiana, good to spend time with you. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always great being with you. Thanks.